I've got a special guest on that is going to be talking about a new book that's coming out soon, and so that's why I decided just to do this video kind of randomly off from my regular Mondays, because I do have those booked up for a while. So those that know me from doing my Mighty Monday videos with show, this is just a random one, but I'm excited about our conversation with my guest, Bambi. He's talking about a new book coming out and about homeschooling and just a lot of mothering stuff. And so, yeah, I'm excited about our conversation, and I'm sure this will be a really blessing to you all. So, yeah, Bambi, you can go ahead and introduce yourself, and then
Okay.
go.
Hi, my name is Bambi. I actually live in Georgia in the United States, and I am a mother of 6 grown children. I do have 13 grandchildren and growing, and I am a empty, and for my free time, I write books.
Your time, yeah.
and I,
Oh, that's great.
and I do have a full-time job. So
Oh, besides that, oh wow, okay.
I actually work for Nielsen TV ratings.
Oh,
So the company that does the ratings for the TV. So that's who I actually work for.
yeah.
And then I just write on the side and things like that. So I was going to share, I went to a convention this weekend, and the convention, they actually had a time that the district pastors of the congregation, and I think they take care of 50 different churches around their district. And their son actually gave a testimony. He was like 34 years old, and he gave a testimony that for the last 24 years of his life, he has been caught up in alcoholism and drugs and things like that. And his parents, his mom and dad, have been praying for him continually. And in 2019, he totally surrendered his life back to God, and he has not had a drink since. So he was the guest speaker
Oh,
he was
wow.
through there. So it just really made me think. And he brought his mother up, and he made a statement of all of you mamas out there that have been praying and believing for your children, don't stop, because God's got a plan for their lives, and he's going to
Oh,
work.
wow.
Was just so powerful that he brought his mom up and apologized to his
Yeah,
mom, everybody. So it just made me really think about the seasons of a mother's life and the
yeah,
time,
yeah.
over our children. And
Mhm.
I had I saw this poem that a little boy was asking his father and asking God, why do mommies cry? So I wanted to, if it's okay, I wanted to read this poem that I found.
Oh, yeah.
It says, a little boy asked his mother, "Why are you crying?" "Because I'm a woman," she told him. "I don't understand," he said. His mom just hugged him and said, "And you never will." Later, the little boy asked his father, "Why does mother seem to cry for no reason?" "All women cry for no reason," was all his dad could say. The little boy grew up and became a man, still wondering why women cry. Finally, he put in a call to God. When God got on the phone, he asked, "God, why do women cry so easily?" God said, "When I made women, she had to be very special. I made her with shoulders strong enough to carry the weight of the world, yet gentle enough to give comfort. I gave her inner strength to endure childbirth and the rejection
Mhm.
that comes many times from her children. I gave her hardness that allows her to keep going when everyone else gives up, and takes care of her family through the sickness, the fatigue, and without complaining. I gave her the sensitivity to love her children under any and all circumstances, even when her children have hurt her very badly. I gave her strength to carry her husband through the faults and the fashioned her from his rib to protect his heart. I gave her wisdom to know that a good husband never hurts his wife, but sometimes tests her strength and resolve to stand beside him. And finally, I gave her a tear to shed. This is her exclusively to use whenever it is needed. "You see, my son," God said, The beauty of a woman is not in the clothes she wears, the figure that she carries, or the way she combs her hair. The beauty of a woman must be seen in her eyes, because that is the doorway to her heart and the place where love resides.
Oh, wow.
And I just thought, the different stages of us as moms, where we,
Yeah.
go in life. And, I was thinking about, the transition when we are giving birth, that moment from the 8th to the 10th centimeter. We're like saying, we
Yeah.
can't do this anymore. There's no
Oh,
way
yeah.
to do this. And, crying, saying, God, please, please, just, we don't want this anymore. And then that
Mhm.
moment that, our baby is held into our arms, we realize that it was worth the sacrifice and it was worth that
Yeah.
pain. But
Yeah, for sure.
mother would experience that kind of pain throughout the life of her as a mom. You know,
Yeah.
really, really touched me when I thought about that. And I was actually able to be with my daughter-in-law and watch her for my 13th grandson to be born. And I stayed with her until she hit like almost 8.5 centimeters. And then she decided to go to the hospital. But I saw her pain and I saw her agony. And at that moment, all of my pain and all of my agony of childbirth came back. Like it's something you never forget.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
You, you
That's
know,
like
never forget.
remembered. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I was thinking of all the different, times in a mom's life, the times that her last child does the last thing for the last time and she's never going to experience that again. Like her last child
Mhm.
goes from crawling to walking and now he'll never crawl again, and those tears that
Mhm.
are that's like, oh my goodness, that's the last time. That's the last time that it happened.
Mhm.
So today on my Facebook, which I had told you prior to this live, is that I took a poll and asked mothers, when was the hardest time as a mom? When was the time that you cried the most? And it was kind of funny, not funny, but kind of funny that the whole idea is that most of these women that about 95% of them have cried more for their adult children than they ever
Mhm.
did for their children when they lived at home.
Oh,
Because
wow.
now our children get to make their own decisions, and
Yeah.
sometimes children choose not to have relationships with us or
Yeah.
think did things so wrong in their lives.
Mhm.
And all we as moms were trying to do was to just love them and to take care of them and to just lead them to the next phase of their life.
Mhm.
And I just thought that that was like really interesting. And then the second time was when they were teenagers because
Mhm.
they were transitioning into not needing you.
Mhm.
They were transitioning and not wanting you around. Get away, mom.
Yeah.
I have my own friends. Get away. And a mom
Mhm.
cries. Her heart just aches because her love for her children is so strong, and so she just
Mhm.
cries over that. So I thought about that, and I thought about the frustrations that we go through as mom, especially as homeschooling moms. We've taken on another thing, to do for our children. And sometimes when our children grow up, they don't understand the sacrifice also that we made.
No. No, I don't think they do. Maybe until they get their own children and then
Yeah.
they see and then they understand. But until
And I
then.
homeschooling.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
started homeschooling in 1991. That's when 1990,
Oh.
91. I was one of the first within our
Mhm.
community. There was a couple other people that were homeschooling. I was one of the first, to homeschool, and I homeschooled all the way until my sons went. My sons that are identical twins. They went into the
Oh,
military at 17.
okay.
So I thought I just like you said, I did write a book. My first book that I wrote is The Journey of Josephine. Oh, this is going to quote. The first book that I wrote is The Journey of Josephine, and this is about the testimony of my life and how I took how my rag doll um, was my security blanket, and
Mhm.
she knows all my secrets and all my tears. So this one is already out on Amazon. So it's called The Journey of Josephine. The second book that I wrote that is coming out on March 17th on St. Patrick's Day is the treasures of my heart. And what this is there are different God winks and different stories of how God intervened and how He weaved my life through the tragedy, and He weaved my life using all these different things. And one of them was my the years of homeschooling. So I thought I would read a little bit of that chapter, if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, that would be good.
It says, the stack of books sticking out of one of my heart's pocket could only mean one thing. A huge smile spread over my face because I knew that stack of books represented my years of homeschooling. Homeschooling my children was and will always be my single greatest accomplishment in life. To take the minds of my children and gently help mold and shape them into the people they grow up to be able to pour into their little minds, is by far the most cherished treasure that I have. How could a girl with a little education guide and develop her children's minds and teach them everything they needed to flourish in life after they had left home? How could a mom with only a GED be capable of enough to handle such a large responsibility? How did I teach them to read and to write? How did I venture outside my comfort zone to bring education to the most important people in my life? The only logic to this answer is God. None of it could have happened without Him. When my eldest daughter turned 4, her dad and I began discussing the options we had in her education. He'd attended a Christian school, and from K through 12, and he was adamant to have our daughter would not follow the same route. One night, not long after, I had a vivid dream. In my dream, I was standing at the bus stop with the other mothers and their children, waiting for the bus to arrive. It rolled slowly to the stop and the doors opened. One by one, the children let go of their mother's hands and disappeared into the bus. I stepped up with my daughter, and just as I was about to let her go, the bus door abruptly closed, and the big bold letters was written, "No." The bus left just as quickly as it came, and I woke, startled, not entirely sure where I was in for a moment. I woke my husband up and I told him that we were going to homeschool. When life came to me in a fury, I found peace and stability in sitting around the table with my children, answering many questions, explaining the contradictory grammar rules for the 100th time, because let's be real, they really don't make sense. The many
Oh
books
yeah.
I read aloud, the unit studies I designed for them, and the joy of watching their faces light up when they aced a test. If asked, some of my children would tell you they hated being homeschooled, but others would say it was good. To some of them, I was selfish. To others, I was selfless. And I say,
Mm.
to a few of them, I ruined them, and the others would tell you I prepared them for the real world. I know I did the right thing regardless, and the memories I made with them are some of the fondest. Homeschooling is one stable thing I had, and it gave me hope throughout the challenges of my years. Thinking back of that stack of books brings tears to my eyes as I am eternally grateful for that treasure, a reminder of the years when, despite the storm, I never gave up.
Oh wow.
And that's how
Oh.
I never gave up on it. I loved
Mm.
it was the only stable thing in my children's life. And I may not have done it perfect, and you may not do it perfect, and your audience may not do it perfect. But my son said to me one time, he said, "Mom, did you do what God called you to do?" And I said, "Yeah, I did." He said, "Then let God take care of the rest."
Oh wow.
And you're like, yeah,
Wow.
we are only what we are supposed to do. We're not,
Yeah.
our children have to work out their own lives and their own testimony.
Wow. Oh, I like that because see what I've heard of other things, I've heard that too. It says that God is just expect your obedience and is what you're to do and what the fruit of that is kind of his business. But your place is to obey and then the outcome is kind of is in his hands, but to obey and to do obviously your best with all our effort and all that we can do. Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that's neat because then that kind of takes the load off of us, whether, you know, other
And
things, but what we
perfect.
did, what we were called to do.
Absolutely. And and we all we want is the best for our children. A mother will always stand in a child's corner. Even if they do something that is not that is contrary to what we believe or contrary to our lifestyle, mothers stand in one spot. Children can always find their mother because we're always standing in one spot. We don't leave our post. And I think about that mother, on the stage this past weekend. She never left the post. She had to stand at that post for 30 some years, believing that her son was going to be delivered from alcoholism.
Wow.
He had to stand, and that's a promise that we have with God. He's just asking us to stand. He's not asking us to do anything else but to stand. And that's pretty awesome. And enjoy the ride. So many times in homeschooling, especially with homeschooling, we try to do everything, that everybody else is doing, and on top of everything. And we try to be super moms. And some sit and read a book to our children and forget about the books.
Yeah.
You said that your children are helping build a house, like that's school. That's that they're going to need that in life,
for sure.
Then they're going to need something else. So, it's just a journey.
It took me a while to get to that in my parenting schooling journey, to realize though that these other things are school. It did take me a long time. For when I first started out in the first several years, I thought if we weren't doing school in the book, knocking off pages, then we weren't doing school. It was like, oh man, we have to do something. There goes school. Oh, there goes school. And now realizing this is school, that these things like just helping around the house, growing a garden, learning to preserve vegetables and things that I used to do a lot of, and through the years, and we're working on the addition on the house and them doing the mudding and the painting, and that is really life skills that they need, and that is a part of education.
And the other thing is that there's going to be a day that your children are going to move on with their lives. And when somebody asked me, what was the hardest part, I was a single mom for quite a few years. And when my last two boys went into the military and I went home into our home, that's when I cried like a wretched kind of cry. Now, what am I going to do with my life? Now I'm an empty nester, and all I hear is the laughter in the walls. All I hear is the climbing of the trees and the giggles and things like that, but they're no longer present. Now they're off with their own lives. I have all of my children are married with their own children, their own wives and their own husbands. That's the hardest part for me as a mom, because I invested so much time in all my life into my children and in homeschooling that when they were gone, I didn't know what to do with myself. And it was, and I don't have a husband, so I don't have somebody to use a sounding board. That was a really tough time for me. Becoming a nester.
It would be. So you said your twins was your youngest, and they went out into the military at 17.
At 17, we were able to go into the Army.
That is young.
So they were young, and then they didn't come back home because they got married.
Oh, what? Oh no, that would have been so hard. Oh, right. I can imagine.
Going off to college, and they come home and mom's doing their laundry, cooking their favorite food. They then got married, and and their wives at that point, it's different now, but at that point they didn't need me. They didn't need my advice, so that was really, really tough. I had one of my daughter-in-laws, I told her one time that my son always loved my rice pudding, and she said, oh, he doesn't need your rice pudding anymore, he has mine. I say that to tell you, to even for your audience, to share that you have with your children at home, because when they're gone, it's a totally different relationship, and sometimes
it is.
Come back.
Yeah. Oh wow. So to really make that most of the time and really enjoy it, even if things are a little hectic, crazy days. And I've learned to do that. I've learned to really relax and my mothering, just to really just laugh at some situations. Normally I would have been, going crazy, but just because what else can you do if things happen? If milk is spilt, this, whatever, what can you do? But just like, oh, well, it's still, we're still here. And
You know,
just really make the most of it instead of going crazy.
yeah, absolutely. And then,
Mhm.
it's funny that when that happens, and then God like reignites your love when you're blessed with grandchildren.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
something about grandchildren that
Mhm.
just fulfill that void that now is gone because your children have moved on. um I'm at the stage of grandchildren. I have 13 grandchildren and counting. I don't think my son's
Mm.
done having children. My daughters are, but my sons are not. And now I'm at the stage of being a nana, and sitting
Mhm.
down and taking the time to read to them, taking the time to play, taking the time to
Mhm.
sit on the ground, that I necessarily sometimes missed out on those opportunities, with being a mom because, I was so busy.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
I
Yeah,
had a
had more things to do. Now maybe you have more time just to really take time and do
yeah.
these extra things or sit and listen to them, and yeah.
So yeah, it's just kind of, and somebody, this is so true. The days are long, but the years are short.
Mm.
I think you're going to have, you said that you had a 1 year old.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're going to have a 1 year old forever, and you're not going to have any sleep for a very long time, and you're up all the time. But that 1 year old grows up. So
Mhm.
days are extremely long, but the years are so short. And I didn't believe that necessarily as a young mom. I had
Mhm.
4 children under the age of 5 years old at 23 years old, and then I had
Um,
twins, and
mhm.
I had a job to do. I had to
Wow.
I had to take care of a household and a family, and everything. So to now know that, yeah, the days are long, but the years are short. So, as mamas, we just have to embrace, where we're at and cherish that.
Mhm.
That
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, I've wrote them on that one time, and yeah, for sure. I know when you continue for myself having children though, and I've stretched it over several years, it seems like a little childhood does last, but not for one particular child, not for, but it's still like I'm still got babies and I could end up, pretty soon being a grandma myself. Not that I don't, my oldest is 23 and he's not married, doesn't have anyone, but in my 18-year-old that did have a friendship. And so you just, I know, and here I still got a little one because so I've got a big space. So I have the 10 children, but my oldest is 23 and my youngest is 18 months now. So I've stretched my, parenting years out, obviously, but still it goes quick though. But
absolutely, it's
um,
not going to last forever. I wrote in my, I have my second, the first book that I wrote, The Journey of Josephine. I said there are a lot of going up hills and down hills, a lot of rainbows and thunderstorms, but there's always a plan. We may not be privy to it, but as it unfolds, we can see the plan for our good, and everything was working out. Life is all about our choices and how we choose to take on every situation we experience. We can either turn it for good or we can destroy us and make us bitter. Every day, I have to choose life, growth, and abundance. I know that the stories that have been written about me and the stories that I've told were the stories that led me towards the path of forgiveness. I have the privilege to look in the mirror every morning to see an overcomer, a champion, a warrior, and a woman who thrived. I see a woman with a story, and that story created a hero who is part of her reflection every single day. It says we all have so many obstacles in our lives, but as we can choose to use those obstacles to be lessons instead of something that defeats us. We learn that there is a greater purpose always for our life. And I think about that as us as moms,
mhm.
we have so much responsibility and a lot of things just on our shoulders, and some of it we do ourselves,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we just want our children to know how much we love them. And sometimes we make mistakes and sometimes we fall down, but God doesn't care about us falling down. He cares about the fact that we keep getting back up. And that's what God wants for us to know, is that it's the getting back up again that that matters to him. And that when he looks at us as mothers, he looks at us as the daughter of the King of Kings. And he's not angry with us, and he's not upset with us, and he's not disappointed in us. And if we can just understand it and know that the greater plan that he has for us is for us to understand how much he loves us. And that's the same thing with us, with our children. All we want our children to know is that the love that we have for them is so great, and that we never did anything to purposely hurt them or purposely do something that was going to bring turmoil. All we did as moms is all we wanted to do was love them.
Oh, wow. That's good. So we can grasp that and really believe, let that sink in. That'll really change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, and sometimes as moms, our children look at us as heroes. And all we are is flawed individuals trying to, overcome our own hurts and our own pains and our own traumas, but sometimes they put us on a pedestal, and we have to take ourselves off of that pedestal. And there were many times, and many times, when I was homeschooling, I look at now as the bigger picture, that it was the greatest accomplishment that I've ever accomplished in my life. But in the moments, it was hard. In the moments, there were times that I wanted to give up. I was going through other traumas and things like that within marriages and things like that. And the only thing I had was schooling. So sometimes it was a god to me. Sometimes it was an idol that needed to come, down.
Okay.
And then somebody said something, there, sometimes I wanted to give up. As moms, sometimes we want to give up. But I remembered that there was somebody watching me. There's not a moment that some of us just don't want to give up, but people are watching you, and you're plowing the field for the people behind you. The people behind you need to know your story, and they need to see where you're coming from, because they're trying to come through, and they need your story. And, that's why I also, right now I have a website called healingthroughstories.com.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
That I allow women also to write their stories, because I think that women, the more that we tell our stories, the more that we're able to, become the women of God that we were called to be. If we just come together as a tribe and lock arms instead of being against each other, but before. So, if anybody wanted to also go on my website, they can go on healingthroughstories.com. It is all one word. And if somebody wanted to write a story, they would just go to send me an email through josephine.ourstory@gmail.com. And I will post their story and post any links that they have, for their, if they're selling books, or if they have something, I will be more than willing to, share their stories.
Oh, wow. I really like that, because like you said, that we need that support from each other and to hold each other up, instead of sometimes looking down or putting down, because we're not all going to be at the same place at the same time, but to rather link arms and say, we can do this together. We're going to walk this out, raising our children for the Lord, because it's a hard journey. It's a tough journey, that it's worth it all. And with God, we can do it. And with community,
Absolutely.
we can do it. So I really like that. Wow, that's good.
And it's kind of like the last thing, the illustration, when we walk along the beach and we see the glass, the sharp glasses, the sharp glass and everything. And when we know that it goes back and forth into the waves, and trials and tribulations is what softens us, it's edge. And that's what the ocean does to glass. The ocean softens the glass and forms this beautiful, soft, surface. But in the beginning, it's really sharp, and it has a lot of, edges. And, what God's trying to do in everything that we do as women, whether we homeschool, whether we work time, whether we have children, whether we're at grandparent stages, God is trying to soften us. He's trying to get rid of the edges and make them smooth. So he's in the business of, of taking our lives and transforming them. and for us to know who we are in him. And he's going to use every situation, every circumstance in our lives, to be able to do that for his kingdom. So I'm really excited. This is the very first time that I had ever talked on a YouTube or a podcast or anything. So I want to thank you, for the opportunity that you also gave me, to be able to tell my story.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's good. I didn't realize that. Well, I'm glad that you could. And I love all that you shared. Such rich content. And for mothers, and especially that's still in the thick of it, to still feel like, oh my goodness, like how can I do this? And is it worth all of this? And you gave us that hope that it is worth it, to keep hanging in there and just keep doing what God put on our heart to do, to be obedient.
Absolutely. And it is worth it. It's going to be, sometimes it's going to feel like it's not worth it, but know that people are you know what? Know that your children are watching you. Be vulnerable. We're not perfect, and we don't have. And our children are not looking for us to be perfect. Our children are looking also for us to be humbled.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. And they're looking to see how we're going to function and how we're going to do things. So don't try to be perfect, because our children aren't looking for perfection.
Yeah.
So that's a kind of cool thing. So I am just really excited. And, I hope that there are people that would love to go on my website, and would love to write a story. That would be amazing.
Oh, that sounds good. Yeah, I'll definitely get some links from you to put in the description so they can click on that and follow it from there, so they can find you. And that's good. And your books. So you have your new one coming out, and then your other one that you already had written. They're available on Amazon. Uh-oh, I think it froze again. Oh, or maybe your phone heated up. Oh, I hope I didn't lose. Again, we've had just a little bit of trouble this evening recording this. First, my phone got warm and kind of shut off, and then my guest phone did as well. But we're continuing on, and I'm just grateful for all that she shared here with us this evening. Just all the content, and her having went through the homeschooling journey and saying that this is her greatest success. And I want to encourage you, mothers, in your journey as well, that it is worth it. Hang in there, and you can check out her books and her resources and the things that she has to encourage mothers. I hope you have been blessed by this episode that I've done on here. And yeah, please check out Bambi's books and resources, and hang in there. You are doing one of the most worthwhile jobs you can ever do. And yeah, God is with you. Just be obedient to what he's called you to do, and he will fill you with what you need when we rely on him and realize that we can't do it on our own strength, but in his strength, and he will give us what we need to carry on, to be to the mothers, to mother our children, and that he has given us placed in our care. And community, like she said, is good. Get those around you. All right. I hope you have been blessed and encouraged by this. Take care, and I'll see you back here on my channel for other videos for my Monday Mondays and other videos as I can do them. Be blessed, and stay strong for the Lord.